So I'm sitting in the car, and as I was driving on my way here, I actually unlocked a traumatic memory of the worst job interview I've ever had. And like till this day, nothing defeats that job interview. So as you guys know, I wanted to work for Red Bull for the longest time, right? And my very first job interview was with them when I was 19. And I wanted to drive those Red Bull Wings cars, the ones that had the Red Bull at the back, like on the top of it, right? So I go there, hopeful, wide-eyed, and full of hope, right? And then they ask me, how do you sell ice to an Eskimo? Ma'am, Eskimos literally live in an abundance of ice, right? You guys know Eskimos, wherever they live, whether it's Antarctica or wherever they live, there's an abundance of ice. They live in little igloos. What business do I have selling ice to an Eskimo? How is this going to help me? Is this even a life skill? Now I must sit here and figure out, well, how is my ice going to be different to the abundance of ice that's right over there? Nigga, like, oh, you should have asked me if I would have sold like a fur jacket or something. What are you asking me? How am I going to sell ice to an Eskimo? I remember, guys, the moment they asked me that question, everything just went dark. I could literally hear everybody starting to write on their notes. I could hear the mental no's that were happening there. Everybody looked down. Everybody looked down in embarrassment. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just felt myself kind of sink, and I knew then and there, I'm not making it. Never even met an Eskimo. Now, what business do I have to sell ice to an Eskimo when I'm here to sell Red Bull? Like, you should have asked me if I can sell Red Bull to an Eskimo. That would have been so different. Like, am I going to need this? Are we going to need this? We're literally going through the rapture. I still get trauma just thinking about that interview.
Selling ice to an Eskimo. Well, if they wanted you to know how you would sell Red Bull, they asked that question. But I'm sure they're going to teach you how to sell Red Bull. Selling ice to an Eskimo is an interesting question. Probably not my favorite. I've sat in on a lot of different interviews over the years, and I've heard so many different techniques around interview questions. And I will say that's not one of my favorite. Just not one of my favorite. I prefer that you be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more direct, real world, ask some real world type questions, and not go with the hypothetical selling ice to an Eskimo type questions. But many people, many companies still ask those type questions, even though I don't care for them. But I do understand why they ask those questions. What they're trying to do is try to get you to think quickly, think under pressure. They want to see what type of persuasion skills you have. Can you really think about the customer and be creative in how you respond to the customer? They know you don't really know their sales process, and they'll teach you their sales process. Got it. But they want to know if you're under pressure and a customer says no, which they will. If you're going into any types of sales organization, you're going to get more no's than yeses. But the truly good salespeople are able to adapt. They're able to listen to the customer. They're able to understand what the customer's needs, even when the customer may not quite understand those needs. And they're able to modify their sales script to fit the customer. So in this case with the Eskimo, they know the Eskimo doesn't need any ice. Plenty of ice. Everything's ice, right? So how do you sell ice to an Eskimo? It's no different than if you were trying to sell wood to a person that was living in the woods, right? They've got wood all over the place. So why would they need to buy wood from you? The key again is to try to ask probing questions, understand what that customer truly needs and why do they need it. So in the Eskimos case, maybe they're building a structure, maybe they're building a house, right? And they need their ice a certain way, certain density. Maybe they need their ice already cut down. Maybe they need their ice already at 90 degrees. Maybe they need their ice already shaped a certain type of way. And so your ice comes that way. It's already prepared. It's already cut down. It's already square. And so that saves them time, saves them hard work, right? And it also makes their structure safer, knowing that it's already comes that way. So that's a selling point for you when it comes to selling ice to an Eskimo. Maybe in the same vein, they need their ice for consumption. So if they need it for consumption, your ice is already purified. Your ice is already treated. So now they don't have to worry about doing it themselves. It reduces risk of infection and bacteria and other types of disease. That's the selling point for your ice that makes it a little bit different. Maybe they need it for bodily injury, right? So your ice comes already prepackaged. It's prepackaged in a form that if someone has an accident or injury, you can put the ice on there and just grab it. It's safer, it's quicker, right? So you have to figure out ways creatively on the spot, under pressure, to answer that question. And it's not, again, about the Eskimo. It could be any situation. The example I talked about in the woods. If you're living in the woods, well, they got trees everywhere. It's trees and woods everywhere. But maybe your wood is already cut, right? It's already level. It's already planed down, right? And it makes the structure, the house that they're building, safer. You can build it quicker. Maybe it's pre-treated, right? And so now their house will last longer because it's pre-treated. So you have to come up with creative ways to answer that question. And that's the whole purpose of the question, is to try to figure out, can you think of creative ways under pressure and ways that will deal with or address the customer's concerns? Crazy question, but I'm not a big fan of it. Question that you may get that's similar would be, sell me this pen, sell me this bottle of water. Similar questions, similar purpose, trying to understand, can you, in a pressure type situation, come up with a creative way to address the customer's concerns, not sell it the normal way, but sell it in a way that helps convince the customer that it's a need that they may not have already recognized. Another question is, how many golf balls can you get into this box? How many balls or balloons can you get into this truck? All of these creative type questions. You hear those periodically, maybe not as often as we used to hear them years ago, but they're still asked. Don't get excited like she did. Settle down, pause for a second, think through your answer, and understand that they're trying to figure out, can you come up with a creative way to sell this product to your customers? Don't get excited. If you get excited like she did, then yeah, she's right. You're not going to get the job. Shit ain't going to work. But if you pause a second, you got a better chance of getting it. Anyway, love to hear how you guys answer that question. Thanks a bunch. Have a good one.